Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Stacy Satang with the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining us. Our webinar today is titled National Voter Registration Day, Improving Voter Participation in Pennsylvania. To let you know, this presentation is being recorded and will run approximately 60 minutes, including question and answer time. Additionally, please note that the information in the chat feature will automatically be saved. We will send a link to this webinar via email and the recording in the next few days, as well as upload it to our YouTube channel and our website. Attendees, you will be muted during today's presentation. If you have questions for the presenters, please type them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. If you have a logistical question for myself or Housing Alliance staff, please use the chat feature. The chat feature should not be used for questions for the presenters. I'll now turn it over to Phyllis Chamberlain to begin today's presentation.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Today is National Voter Registration Day, and what we wanted to do today is to spend a few minutes talking about how you, as representatives of organizations serving people in need, can engage the people that you're serving in voting. The Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania has been partnering with a national organization called Nonprofit Vote, and you're going to hear from Caitlin Donnelly today about this effort at the national level. We've also, through this effort, been partnering with a number of organizations across the state who are going to share with you their strategies for engaging the people that they serve. We've been working with both nonprofits and housing providers, including housing authorities. And everything that we're going to talk about today is absolutely what nonprofits, housing providers, and housing authorities can do. What we can't do as nonprofits and housing authorities is ask people to support particular candidates. But what we absolutely can do is create opportunities for people to engage in voting. When we think about the state of the world today, when we think about the COVID-19 pandemic, and the disproportionate impact it's had on low-income communities and people of color. And when we think about the protests over racial justice, I'm not sure that this moment or this election has ever been more important to make sure that people who are sometimes not engaged in voting, which would be low-income communities and people of color, have every opportunity to exercise their constitutional right in this democracy, which is to vote and to have a say into who represents them. This is particularly important because so many of the policies that we're talking about at the state level and at the local level and at the federal level have an impact on people of color and low-income communities. So never has this been more important. What we want to do today is start with Kate Kelly, who works here with me at the Housing Alliance, who's going to talk about our effort and ways that you individually can make sure that you have a plan for voting, and then how you, as a representative of an organization, can be engaging the people that you serve in either signing up to register if they haven't been registered before and or pledging to vote. So thanks to all of our speakers today, and thanks to everyone who's on the call. We're really looking forward to working with you to make sure that the people we serve are engaged in voting. Kate, I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you very much, Phyllis. I'm going to talk a little bit about our PA Votes initiative and why we feel that today, National Voter Registration Day, is such an important day for us to all take the call to action for voter registration. So I have a few slides that I'm going to share with you. Well, let me just get these up and running. And for those of you who aren't familiar with PA Votes, it is a statewide initiative that we have helped helped to launch around working with 23 nonprofits around the state of Pennsylvania and working with a combined goal of gaining 4,000 new voter contacts. And so we are working to get people, the 23 nonprofits that we are partnering with are working to get people to register to vote, making sure they have access to a mail-in ballot if that's something they need. And also we've set up a system where you can sign up to receive a digital voter reminder. So this link at the bottom of the screen, which we can also share in the chat, is kind of a one-stop digital tool that you can share with potential voters who need to register, who may be moved and need to fill out a new voter registration form, who would like to apply online for a mail-in ballot, and if they've already registered to vote and have a mail-in ballot if they need it, would like to receive a voter reminder. What our call of action is for all of you today is on National Voter Registration Day. You know, we hope you all are already registered to vote. If you're not, today's the day to do it. But also think about reaching out to 3 people, colleagues, friends, neighbors, family members, and you can send them this link, which again, we'll put in the chat. You can send them that link, let them know that today is National Voter Registration Day and that if they live in Pennsylvania, today is the day to use this link to get ready to vote and whatever they may need to get ready. So that is, you know, what we're asking all of you to do on the call. And as Phyllis said, we're going to hear from just a few of our partners about the work they're doing around voter engagement strategies, and you may get some ideas from them on what you might be able to do beyond reaching out to 3 individuals and helping to get additional people registered to vote. I just want to acknowledge in the next 3 slides who our 23 nonprofit partners are in our PA Votes initiative. We could not be doing what we're doing without them. They've been on the ground, as you're going to hear later on this morning, doing great voter contact work. So I have 3 slides that list all our partners. You can see them here, and I put an asterisk next to the name of the partners who've also signed on officially to be National Voter Registration Day partners. If I missed your name on there, my apologies. I know that that list of partners is being updated, of National Voter Registration Day partners is being updated all the time. So there could very well be partners, PA Votes partners on this list who I didn't designate as National Voter Registration Day partners. This is just our second slide of partners. You can see they serve a variety of constituencies and they are located in all parts of Pennsylvania. And this is just our last slide with who our partners are. And again, we really can't thank them enough. They've been doing amazing work on top of work they're already doing, working through a pandemic, serving their clients, staying connected to people in a time when social distancing is so critical, but really still doing a great job of making sure that people are engaged in and know what's going on and know how to participate in the upcoming election. I just wanted to share these dates, which would be important to you maybe if you're reaching out to people, encouraging them to register to vote today. They have till October 19th to register, but there's no need to wait that long. The deadline to apply for the mail-in ballot is by the end of the day on the 27th of October. That application needs to be received that day. That's not the day to stick it if you're applying with a paper application to stick it in the mail. And then the date, which I'm sure everyone is well aware of by now, is Election Day is on Tuesday, November 3rd this year. If you should have questions about what the Housing Alliance is doing around PA votes, you want to get more involved, think about what you can do beyond asking 3 people to register to vote today. My information and Keena's information is on here. My colleague Keena Minifield's going to speak a little bit later. You could reach out to both Keena or I with any questions you have, and I can stick our contact information in the chat as well. So that's my piece, but please use this day to encourage 3 people to register to vote, apply for a mail-in ballot, sign up for a reminder, and let's make this really truly a non-official holiday around voting.
Great, thanks, Kate. And somebody asked a question, which was, could we put the link on the previous slide in the chat? Kate, can you do that?
I'll do it now.
Great. Great. Next, we're going to hear from Caitlin Donnelly with Nonprofit Vote, who is our partner in this initiative, who has been connecting us to people in other states and providing us with a lot of tools and technical assistance for how we engage people in voting, particularly in this new world where so much of our work has to be done digitally. Caitlin, thanks for being here, and you're up.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. I am the program director for Nonprofit Vote, which is the managing partner of National Voter Registration Day. So I'm excited to be here with you and share a little bit more about what's going on today. I have some slides I will share. So just a little bit of background on National Voter Registration Day and Nonprofit Vote. While National Voter Registration Day represents a huge, wide-ranging set of partnerships and groups of people working together, the staff at Nonprofit Vote does a lot of the back end work. And so we come to this with a lot of experience and partnerships with nonprofits, helping them engage people they serve in voting. So our main field program, which we call Engaging New Voters, is what Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania is part of, and we're so happy to have them as a partner this year and doing this work with us. So we have lots of fact sheets, toolkits, resources, webinars, etc. on the Nonprofit Vote website, and those are all very much designed for 501c3 organizations. They're all completely nonpartisan, and we really try to keep in mind the barriers that you all face, and that voter work, you may find it very important, but you're actually dealing with the daily basic and immediate needs of the people you're serving. So we try as best as possible to make it very easy for you to take hold of these resources, engage people without having to set up a new program. We love National Voter Registration Day because it is such a good starting point for folks who have not done this work before. And it's a way to have a fun experience, see that you're really part of a much broader movement. So I'm happy that you're all participating in this webinar and in National Voter Registration Day. So to me, it is the most exciting day of the year. We've held National Voter Registration Day since 2012, when it was founded by some awesome partners who are still very much involved. The Bus Federation, which is now known as the Alliance for Youth Organizing. Headcount, which is, if you've been to a concert where Headcount's been at, Dave Matthews Band is a big fan of theirs, and many other musical artists. They do voter registration at concerts. Also the League of Women Voters, and many other groups that just have a passion for civic engagement and want to make sure that people can participate in voting. It's held the fourth Tuesday of September each year, so that we're well ahead of state deadlines, but still getting close enough to the election that people are really paying attention. If you have not signed up as a National Voter Registration Day partner, I'd still encourage you to do that. Yes, it is the day of, so we won't be able to send you those cool posters and stickers, though you can still access all the materials online. Why sign up at this late date? Well, we can include you in the final report and your efforts. If you are doing anything to reach voters today, we want to hear about it. We want to know about your experience and how many voters you reached. So all partners will receive our survey link. And then if you sign up, you'll really be among the first to know about the impact of this holiday and the numbers that will take a few days for us to gather and figure out the full impact. But anyone who's signed up and one of the partners or part of that mailing list is going to get that early info. So what is happening today? Well, if you've searched for anything online, you may have noticed the Google Doodle. Once again, registering to vote is the theme of the Google Doodle this year. That is a mouthful. So Google has done a great job compiling lots of information about voting. And so anyone who sort of comes through Google today is probably going to get some sort of prompt around voting, whether it's through this doodle or from the awesome information that they have really pushed up and summarized right at the top of their site. But we know not everyone will find registration opportunities online. So luckily we have a lot of partners on the ground doing this work as well. So one exciting one that we know will reach millions of people, Walmart has become a premier partner for the first time this year. And so these little signs encouraging people to register to vote, going to this text code or using this QR code are posted in stores across the country. And then there's also a lot of great digital events happening right now. So When We All Vote is hosting a live stream event. It's going from 11 to 6:30 tonight, so plenty of time for you to check it out while they're still going. It's in partnership with Nike, Emerson Collective. There will be celebrities, yes, including Michelle Obama, and many others that are part of this event. But there are many live streamed events happening all over. Like this one, Move Texas is hosting a concert with local artists. We have partners in Georgia hosting a screening of the John Lewis documentary, Good Trouble. So there are lots of events, both in Pennsylvania and all across the country. You can find those on the events page. So nationalvoterregistrationday.org/events brings up a whole map. Lots of things are happening virtually this year. So even if it's not in Pennsylvania, you might still be able to join in. So here are some other ways that nonprofits especially, but lots of partners are sort of getting out the registering to vote today. And some of these things you could do either today or plan to do them ahead of the voter registration deadline. So we have partners who are hosting drive-throughs where people actually drive through and often they're receiving some other service, whether that's food pantries or back to school supplies, but incorporating a voter registration or vote by mail ask into that. We're hearing that a good old-fashioned phone tree is working really well this year. Some people might be a little zoomed out. I know I have received a dozen text messages in the last couple months, although I live in Massachusetts and we had a September 1st primary, so that was part of it. But I've received a lot of texts from text bankers. So consider a phone tree to shake it up and actually speak with folks. Again, virtual events. Today, actually, the documentary on Amazon Prime called All In, The Fight for Democracy is available to watch for free. If you want to get some folks together to watch that movie, I watched it in a pre-screening a couple weeks ago, and it was so powerful. Lots of folks are going to their city council and asking them to pass a resolution recognizing today as National Voter Registration Day and a day for civic involvement. You could also just throw it up at the top of your newsletter or pin it on your social media page. We have tons of assets on our website, but we're also trending #1 on Twitter. So I'm sure you can find an organization, celebrity, business, etc., that you look to, respect, and think that will resonate with your audience, and retweet them, repost their stuff, and let's just get the word out. But before I let us take it to questions, I do just want to give a little reminder. I think it's really important this year and every year that nonprofits remember that we need to remain nonpartisan. So whenever you are, whether doing it virtually or in person, remembering that we are not endorsing or opposing candidates for office, and that not only we as nonprofit staff know this, but that our volunteers who maybe are not as nonprofit savvy as we are also know this, so that when you're doing that phone tree or that text campaign, and that relational organizing piece Kate talked about, where you're reaching out to 3 people and asking those 3 people to reach out to 3 people, if it's at all associated with your nonprofit organization, they're staying nonpartisan. So not only not endorsing or opposing candidates, but not ranking or rating them or talking about them in a way that isn't really truly neutral and unbiased. And when people are registering, if they ask you, I don't know which party I should enroll in, Democrat, Republican, Green, don't even try to explain the differences. That's a question that comes up a lot, but it's best to ask people to do their own research, or let them know that, especially for this general election, it's fine if they're unaffiliated. And we're also not excluding anyone based on how they will affiliate or who they plan on voting for. Then after National Voter Registration Day, you want to stick with that nonpartisan view, but there's lots that you can do to help people get vote ready. So they should know the dates for early voting. If they want to vote from home, should apply to vote by mail, apply for one of those mail-in ballots, learn about the races and measures on the ballot, find their polling place or voting drop box if it's available, and of course, encouraging friends and family to vote too. So this is my little presentation that I zipped through pretty fast, but I am happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Caitlin. If anyone has a question for Caitlin, just type it into the Q&A box, and we can spend a minute or 2 now answering some questions. Caitlin, one question has to do with mail-in ballots, and there's been a lot of conversation here in Pennsylvania, as is true with a lot of states, about being concerned about the mail. Can you offer any suggestions? I've been hearing people are really just encouraging people to vote early, to mail in the ballot early. Is there any other advice that you have in terms of states that are concerned about the mail process?
Yeah, so the early, of course, is really important. Voting in person, especially if you're doing it early, and you can call your local elections office and see, how are the lines, is this a good day to come? If you are really concerned about the mail and would rather just vote in person. But if you are voting by mail, in addition to doing things early, I really recommend embracing the tracker. I believe Pennsylvania has a tracker, and I can double check that, but it's basically like checking a package that you have in the mail. And it's really helpful so that you know that your request has been received, that that ballot got mailed to you, and that the ballot has been received back at the elections office. Oh, thank you, Karen.
Great.
Karen says there is a tracker and it is wonderful. So good.
Great. And then we're focused more on voter registration today and for the next few weeks. And you had a slide talking about how nonprofits and housing providers need to be nonpartisan. But you had actually a few questions that, of course, are going to come up, right, when people might ask questions about which party to affiliate with. In terms of actual voter education, can you share a little bit about what nonprofits can do that isn't partisan?
Absolutely. So luckily, there are some really great resources that make this part easy. So first of all, the IRS states that nonprofits, tax-exempt organizations can promote voting by educating voters about the process. So that includes things like candidate forums. It includes voter guides. You really want to focus on how people can vote, that process, rather than who they should be voting for. So two resources I love to lift up. First one is vote411.org, and that is a site put together by the League of Women Voters. And I can't tell you how often I use it because they compile great information about the process, so how voting works in each state, as well as who is on the ballot. So voters can use that site, type in their address, and get information about the ballot they will receive. So it's really helpful to do that research, whether you're voting at home, or if you want to, create a little cheat sheet for yourself when you go to the polls. So that's a great resource. Ballot Ready also does voter guides, and so they are really focused especially on down ballot races this year, so that I know I go to the polls, and if I haven't really checked, there's some race on there and I'm like, what is a governor's council? Who are these people? So really helping people access a sample ballot and lead them to the nonpartisan tools to help them find information so that they can make an empowered choice. And of course, just making sure that they understand what their options are by mail, early, in person, or on election day. If they need transportation, can you help them with that? They can bring their kids to the polls. Most states have some sort of time off rule so that they can make time to vote. So all those pieces, you just don't want to get into, well, this candidate is aligned with us on this issue, so vote for them. But everything other than that is that really just leads them to the voting box or the mailbox if it's a vote by mail is great, and you should do.
So it sounds like giving people facts about people's positions versus offering your opinion would be one way to think about what you can do and what you can't do. Does that sound accurate?
Yes, absolutely. And so I do encourage you using the nonpartisan resources like Vote 411, or if you have a local paper that puts out a guide, just something that you know is nonpartisan, because there are special interest groups, PACs, C4s that might put out information that is not cool for nonprofits to share. It could be more partisan. So just be careful when you're thinking about those sources. But that stuff already exists. No need to reinvent the wheel.
Great. Thanks, Caitlin, for being here. We're going to move on to hear from some of our local partners about the strategies that they're employing this year. Caitlin, I don't think you can stay on the whole time, but if we get other questions for you, we'll touch base with you separately. Busy day, so thank you, Caitlin, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
I'll share these slides. Bye, everyone.
Great, thanks. Great. So next, I'm going to introduce Kina Minifield, who's works here with me at the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania, who's been working on this initiative in addition to a number of other important initiatives. Kina?
I unmute myself first. Um, Thank you, Phyllis, for introducing me. I am Kina Minifield. I'm the Housing and Civic Engagement Fellow, working alongside Phyllis and Kate and Gail Schwartz on this initiative and other initiatives that we are busy working on. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us and for the nonprofit sites who are doing such a great job with their voter outreach. I have to say that this year has been a really crazy year, and I know that a lot of people are getting more involved and engaged in voting this year than ever before because of circumstances. And I plan to use this day to go live on my personal Facebook to let people know that, what today is and how they can vote, how they can register, how they can, update information. So I plan on, doing education bit on voting myself on my social media today. So I will be introducing our panelists for today. We have Joanna Rosenheim. She is the Community Engagement Specialist at the Pennsylvania Health Access Network, or known as PAN. We have Daniel Farrell, who's the Executive Director at the Allentown Housing Authority. That the Housing Authority is not a nonprofit, but it is one of our sites who has been helping us with our voter outreach. We have Ralph Aurora, who's an independent living supervisor with Abilities in Motion. Patricia Blewett, who's the corresponding secretary at the Rankin-Mon Valley, Pittsburgh section of the National Council of Negro Women. And then we have Katie Soups, who is the director of programs, research and evaluation at the Bradbury Sullivan LGBT Community Center. So we will be hearing about their outreach that they've been doing, and hopefully we can all get some ideas from each other to make this holiday a great day. So Joanna, if you would like to take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Kina. So I'm Joanna. I'm from the Pennsylvania Health Access Network, and we've been doing a lot for voter registration this year. We have done it before, so we're using some of the same strategies that we've used previously. But we have a helpline where we engage with people who need assistance applying for health coverage and other benefits. So that's one of the major ways that we're engaging with folks right now. People are calling into our helpline for various issues, assistance applying for coverage, and especially right now for COVID questions related to benefits. So a lot of people are calling us, and we're just making sure to engage with every single one who gives us a call. Every single person who calls us, we are educating them about voter registration, about our unique link, how to request a mail-in ballot, and just trying to answer any questions they might have about registration. We do work with a lot of people who need to change their address for various reasons, update their address with the county assistance office, or, apply for coverage because they're moving to the state or moving within counties. So those folks are especially important to make sure that they register at their new address. So we have a lot of those people, and we definitely are engaging with all of them. So that's one way, we're working with folks through our helpline and our navigation services. We're also, planning on doing a phone bank with all of those people as well. We're also using social media. We have a Facebook and Instagram account. We also have a Twitter account. And on Wednesday, the 16th, we went live with Ray Murphy from Keystone Votes and Ivan Garcia from Make the Road PA with our organizer, Robin Stelly. And it was really great. We talked for about, I think, 40 minutes. and they answered a ton of questions about voter registration and mail-in ballots, and just clarified some things that might be confusing. So yeah, talked about how to register to vote, requesting a mail-in ballot, and even appealing denials for voter registrations if people are denied, registering to vote, and how to submit your mail-in ballot correctly, in addition to important dates. So we did that on the 16th. We're planning on sharing that out again today for National Voter Registration Day. And so far we reached about 500 people with that Facebook Live. So it was really successful, and we're hoping to get a ton more today. So it was really great. We also shared the unique link on Instagram, which was successful as well. And then another thing that we've done in the past for voter registration and other campaigns is using the texting platform Hustle. So we've used this, to get people to come to events and other days of action for various campaigns that we work on. We also used it for voter registration a couple of years ago. So today we're planning on reaching out to about 1,500 contacts that we've assisted with enrollments or helping with insurance in the past. So these are all clients that we've worked with before, and we're planning on doing outreach through text to get in touch with them and make sure that they're registered to vote, and sharing out our unique link. We've also done, like texting banks. So we've had volunteers help us text out to these contacts, and that's been really a fun way to get volunteers engaged in voter registration, and we're able to reach a lot more people that way. So that's a just more fun and engaging way to get volunteers involved. We're also planning on doing a volunteer phone bank. So we have thousands of people that we've worked with at FAN, and we can't call all of them, but if we work with volunteers to phone bank, then we can really, reach all of them, hopefully. So we're planning on doing a phone bank, and just to make it more engaging, we've in the past for other things done it through Zoom. So all of the volunteers can be together, and if they have any questions, we're all on Zoom together, and we're able to kind of connect that way. So we're hoping to reach, depending on how many volunteers we have, a few more thousand people that way, or at least attempt to reach them through phone banking. And then, of course, we're sending out our link in all of our email communications. So FAN sends out emails pretty often for events and days of action, especially right now because there's so much going on. So we have information about voter registration and sent out in most of those emails, and that's a great way to just consistently remind folks about voter registration and get people engaged that way. So those are the things that we're working on. And if anyone has any questions, I can stay on for a bit. But that's pretty much it for us.
Okay, yeah, that is great work. Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Dan Farrell, I will give it to you now.
Thank you, Keena, and I just kind of want to say from the top here, I want to thank the Housing Alliance and Phyllis and the staff there and everybody for coordinating this really important issue, and for including us in the outreach. We don't always get included in projects like this, so we really appreciate that. And this year there's so many misinformation and other sources out there on voting that we think for our residents, this is a really important issue. Doesn't violate any of the HUD issues with lobbying and all those kind of things. So, and it fits kind of with real well with our core values that we've established here at the Housing Authority, and especially our lead with purpose and advocating on behalf of our residents and educating our residents. So we feel this is an important part of that. We took kind of a multi-prong approach with this. We have a quarterly newsletter that we put out, so we decided to do a special edition of our newsletter. We have probably over half of our resident population is Spanish speaking, so All of our information, our resident outreach and everything goes out bilingual. So this is a shot of the newsletter that we did. We had kind of three issues that we were kicking around. We decided to put together in a special issue. One was voting. Second was the census, since that deadline's coming up here in the next week or so. And then a lot of questions about rent collection. So we combined those and put them into a newsletter that came out a week or so ago. So we wanted to get it out ahead of these the deadlines and today's event. And you know, we took kind of this is just a sample of a couple of the pages for it. We included resident conversations in the newsletter talking about their experience with advocacy, and not so much political campaigning, but just where they've gone to city council and asked for issues and gotten a response. We also have here locally at the Muhlenberg College, one of the colleges here in the Lehigh Valley, Chris Bork. He's a professor, and he's kind of nationally recognized as a polling expert and does a lot of polling work around political campaigns. So we utilized him to kind of come in, which kind of, you know, obviously reinforces the nonpartisan aspect of the outreach. We did have to kind of pay attention to detail. We went out and got some pictures from residents, and a couple of them showed up in their favorite political campaign mask, and so we had to blur out the campaign information on their mask, but nobody's really objected to that, but just kind of one of those little details to pay attention to. But this is just an example here of the English and Spanish and how we put the information and the links in the web or on the in the newsletter for our residents to access. And then we also, in addition to that, the newsletter, the second prong of our outreach is through our webpage. We actually put a link here on the webpage on voting, and it takes them to the live links for PA votes and that outreach. So, you know, we've given them the printed material. We've also made the live links available, and we use the stories in the newsletter to have continuity for that. But as you can see here, we have the voting, census, and rent collection issues. But it's very easy, very upfront for the residents to see this. And we've tried to use our webpage a lot more since COVID as a way to consolidate things and outreach and make it a lot more of an active source for the residents. The other thing that we did is we had a resident outreach partnership over the summer. It was with the Community Health Office at Lehigh Valley Health Network and Building 21, which is one of the magnet high schools here in the Valley for the Allentown School District. We actually hired student interns to make phone calls, and the genesis of all that was to make sure we made contact with all of our residents during COVID and the isolation. And we had COVID questions on that, obviously, but also just a lot of connection questions, mental health type questions, but also included asking if they were registered to vote and doing some follow-up. So we have a good base of residents now to go back to follow up to see if they have voted or not, if they've registered to vote, if they've requested a ballot and everything. So that's another body of information that we have and that we're going to be following up on over the next couple of weeks. And then we also have our social media that we've pushed this information out across, and we'll be pushing out the voter registration information today across these platforms. So we've learned from COVID that you can't just use one source. You have to use multiple sources. But our hope is here with our resident population that they see us as kind of a conveyor of neutral information, and it doesn't, the partisan stuff just kind of gets you in the middle of arguments you don't want to get into, and there's a lot of just neutral, nonpartisan information that needs to be shared and is very helpful to our resident population and provided in the in the language that that they're comfortable with. And then see what happens. see what happens from there. So it's a couple different approaches here, and you know, we think it's a really valuable effort, especially with all the misinformation and everything that's out there this year, and the fact that also that we're putting out nonpartisan stuff, I think makes us more credible in the process as well. So that's what we've been focusing on.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your work. I do have to agree that putting out nonpartisan information is like a big part of you know, this initiative, and you know, getting the education out there and the information is what's most important. So thank you again for what you guys are doing. Sure. All right. We will be moving on to Ralph Aurora from Abilities in Motion.
All right. Thanks for having us, Kina. I'm really excited to be working on this project with everyone, and kind of, you know, even though I'm presenting, I'm still picking up a lot of great ideas. So thank you everyone too for sharing. I'm just going to try to share my screen here. So let me know if it works. Okay. All right. I'm Ralph. These are some of the strategies that we've been using at AIM to help engage some of our consumers in voting. So we work with a lot of consumers who are in nursing homes or transitioning out of nursing homes. So a lot of our staff, and I have to give credit to them too, they've been doing an awesome job. They're contacting individuals that recently transitioned out of the nursing facilities to assist them with updating their voter registration or requests for mail-in ballots, or get election reminders, because those are important as well. And it's been brought up earlier, but we have been getting a lot of questions about, like, are they mail-in ballots safe? You know, some people might be skeptical of it. So we spoke to a representative at the at our local election services office, and we've figured out that there's actually a voting drop box that's there. So we can explain to people that the drop box is guarded by security, it's locked at night for peace of mind, things like that, just to kind of get people more into the mail-in ballots who, you know, maybe can't, because accessibility, we're a Center for Independent Living, so accessibility at some of the voting places might be an issue for some. We also contact individuals who currently are at a nursing facility to see if the person needs support with their registration update or request for a mail-in ballot. And we've also been finding that at these nursing facilities, there's usually a staff member dedicated to helping all of the residents at the nursing facility get registered to vote or request a mail-in ballot or whatever it might be. So if we can find that person's contact information, we're trying to just help them any way we can. We'll send them our link, the unique link, excuse me, that we've gotten from the PA votes to them for them to use. So everything's kind of all neat in one place. Additionally, we've been contacting consumers from other departments as well to aid anyone, consumer or family member, I should say, who's interested in requesting a mail-in ballot. They need to update their registration or simply just register to vote. And we've been having pretty decent amount of luck. I do have to give credit to our staff. They've been rock stars. I know sometimes it might get a little tedious just making these calls, but they've been great, and we've been getting pretty lucky. Some other things that we've been doing. We put a press release out about our collaboration with the Housing Alliance. It was also in like our local newspaper, the Reading Eagle, excuse me. We're located in Reading, PA. We've shared our unique link on our social media accounts like Facebook and Instagram, I think. And then we have a program today starting called the It Starts With Us conversation. And we're going to mention the topic for today is voting. And it's just a safe place for people in the community to come. They can check into our Zoom conversation, and we kind of just talk about everything voting, whatever questions you might have, and we just like to get that conversation started. So we're doing that today. So hopefully we get a good turnout, and we can put the link, our unique link, in the chat there so people can use it and they can share it. So we should have a pretty decent turnout this afternoon for that. So we're excited about that. Something that one of our staff members pointed out is that when calling consumers, it helps a lot to schedule an appointment to assist with voter registration. And I think this has been one of the more helpful things that we've been doing for our consumers. Because sometimes you might call someone and they might be out, or it might not be a good time to register or request a mail-in ballot. You need your PennDOT ID, which sometimes they don't have, or anything like that. So if you schedule a time and explain to them what they need to bring to that call, usually it goes a lot quicker and everyone's a lot happier. So scheduling appointments when you reach people is definitely helpful, we thought. We've been sending some of our consumers pre-stamped envelopes who want hard copies of their voter registration or who might not have email or access to internet. And just reinforcing to everyone that even registering one person to vote or request a mail-in ballot or getting the election reminder makes a difference. Just having people in the community exercise that right to vote, no matter who you vote for, is a win. So that's sort of the stuff that we've been doing.
All right, great. Thank you so much for all of your work as well. Great. We're going to go on to Ms. Pat Blewett with the Rankin-Mon Valley, Pittsburgh section of the National Council of Negro Women.
Hello, and thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of this wonderful opportunity. One of the things that we have found that how limited we are when we are all trapped in our houses and not having that social meetings like we used to do. And that's one of the problems we've found that we've been limited in, that person-to-person meeting. But we got creative and we came up with ways that we can reach out to the people that we know and people we want to get this message out to. One of the ways has been the virtual meetings that have been online, the school board meetings, the city council meetings, the local community meetings. We've been able to make sure that we're a part of those and get the message out about voting and registration and how they can be a part of the PA Votes registration program, and also the special registration day that we're having today. Another way is some of our members have gotten involved with telephoning, and they're calling various people and spreading the word. So telephone trees have been very instrumental, where they are reaching out to the various members of their groupings and also others to get the message out about registration and how you can update your information. We have a PCTV program called Living the Legacy. And on this program, a few weeks ago, we were able to offer opportunity to introduce the PA Votes program, and also to have dialogue with people about what's going on in their local communities and neighborhoods and how we're getting the word out to get people to register to vote, and also to make sure that they go to the polls or send in their mail-in ballots. There's also going to be another program this evening on that television channel, PCTV, and it's going to have a variety of local community groups that are going to come out and speak about the importance of voting and being part of the voting process. So that comes on tonight at 6 o'clock on the PCTV program. A couple of our members got a little bit creative. They went to the local barber shops and beauty salons, and they talked directly with the clients that were there and handed out applications and registration form, and also got information for them so that they can sign up. One of the things we found by talking directly to the people is that some people have been incarcerated at one time or another, and they thought they no longer had the right to vote. So we were able to clear up that mystery for them and get them to register so that they can come out and vote. Another thing that has been going on, grab and go lunches and breakfasts for the children who cannot go to school. We have been there assisting with the grab and goes, and when the parents come up and the different adults come up, we're able to talk to them and find out if they're registered, and if they're not, have the applications right there. They can fill them out before they go home to give the meals to their children. Recently, we found out that there's a lot of food banks, neighborhood food banks. And by going there and talking to the clientele that's coming there is another way to getting the message out about how important it is to vote and getting people registered and updating their information. we've been attending family gatherings, and where we find out if our family members are actually registered, and are they actually exercising their right to vote. And it became very interesting this past weekend when I was at one, and we managed to get quite a few people to realize how important this was. And so they're now signed up, and they're going to do their duty on November 3rd. One of the things that we thought about was the recent graduates, those that unfortunately did not have this type of school year that they would have had. But one of the things we wanted to make sure that they were aware of is their right to vote and their need to sign up to be a registered voter. So we've been reaching out, like when we send out a graduation card, one of the things we were including was a voter's registration form in it, so that they could also receive that graduation gift in that form. That's going to be a lifelong gift for them. Those are some of the things we've been doing. We are using the social media, reaching out to the various people in those little clusters that we have that are on our Facebook pages and whatnot, and getting the word out. And it's interesting to find out how many people are responding back who may not have been. So we're able to give them the website to go on, or use their telephone to just go on and get registered to vote. So those are some of the things that we have been doing, and we're going to continue until November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. There's so many great ideas that you all are having, and thank you so much. We did have a question for you, Ms. Pat. Somebody wanted to know if you could give them just a quick overview of what to say to those who have been convicted and have been in jail.
One of the things we told them to fill out the application, because since they are now home and they've already served their time, that they have the right to be a registered voter. So we were giving them the application, helping them fill out the application, and just encouraging them to, fill it out. It's time for you to get back to become active in your community, because you've already done what was necessary. You paid your debt to the society, and now it's time for you to get back into the active role of being part of the active community.
Great.
And even a few of them want to become poll workers. So we've even given them this information to go down and apply to be a poll worker.
Great. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for your help in this initiative. We will be moving on to Katie Soups from Bradbury Sullivan LGBT Community Center.
Hi there. I want to just quickly say thanks for having us today, and we're happy to share what we've been doing. So I think you can all see my slides here. We've been thinking about this in our tiers of reach with the community. So starting at the most immediate, we've been working on personalized communication with participants in our programs. We still have a daily youth program and community groups and reading groups that have been meeting monthly. So making these announcements about when to be registered, how to apply for a mail-in ballot directly to the participants that we're seeing at our programs. And additionally, making individualized phone calls, sending direct Facebook messages and personalized emails to community members in our personal and professional networks. Taking a step further out, we've also had general communication sent to everyone on our community contact list through our email newsletters that go out weekly. Our website has a whole page, both on one for voting this election and one for census participation. And then a ton of information out on social media. We've been using Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn primarily. Then from there, we've also had larger scale virtual events. So that spans televised content, webinars, and live streams on social media. To give a few examples, our biggest annual one was that our Lehigh Valley Pride event had to go virtual this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. That was streamed on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live, as well as on our local television station, RCN. So more than 10,000 people were reached by that and saw messages about registering to vote. We recently, just last week, had a LGBT town hall for census participation that included panelists like Representative Malcolm Kenyatta and Second Lady Giselle Fetterman as folks who could speak to the importance of census participation and registering to vote to the LGBT community. And we found that tying our census outreach and our voter outreach has been really important, as well as integrating both of those civic engagement campaigns into our programming generally. And then last, just this morning, we had a Facebook Live Q&A where one of our colleagues at Bradbury Sullivan, were recording and answering questions from the community and frequently asked questions about how to vote safely in person, how to, where to drop off your mail-in ballot if you just don't trust getting it into the mail and having it get there on time, as well as why it's so important to vote. Then lastly, we've coordinated with other partners to get our content out to a wider audience. So some of those have been partners here in the Lehigh Valley, like Valley Youth House, who circulated our customized URL to their whole staff, as well as partners across the state. So we sent the information to LGBT community centers and advocacy organizations across the state of Pennsylvania. We really, with any communication campaign we have out, whether it's civic engagement or health and wellness, we know it's important to tailor the message, the language, the design, and imagery to our community to make sure that it's engaging. So you can see an example of what we've put out on social media there with, obviously the LGBT pride flag colors, but also a slogan that plays on visibility, because that's a really important issue that resonates with members of the LGBT community. So letting them know your vote is your voice. And you can see some of the text that we've used in our social media and website messaging, calling out different issues, not candidates, but issues that we know will activate members of the LGBT community, from access to healthcare to racial justice, trans rights, women's rights, and a whole host of other issues. So making sure that people aren't just thinking about this as one candidate versus the other, but a matter of the issues that really affect their day-to-day lives. And then last, I wanted to touch on kind of the key concerns that we've been focusing on. So we just talked about what we're putting out to let people know why it's important to vote, but really what we're getting from the community that we have needed to respond to. So safety has probably been one of the biggest issues. It has tied in well with COVID-19 education campaigns that we have been doing as well, to be able to tell folks, if you are well enough and are choosing to vote in person in November, you've got to remember to wear your mask, socially distance, wash your hands or use hand sanitizer before and after. And if you, God forbid, feel ill after having been to your polling place, connecting them to our webpage where they can see all of the information about should I be tested for COVID-19, and if so, where do I go? And for those folks who can't or don't feel comfortable voting in person, letting them know that mail-in ballots really are, in terms of their personal health and well-being, the safest way to vote this year. The second big issue has been kind of matters of integrity with the election. So I'm a news junkie, but I know a lot of people don't plug into the election news every day, and it can seem like things are changing all the time, whether it's the timeline for participating in the census or the deadline to get your mail-in ballot to the election office, and tons of new things this year, both outside of COVID-19 and because of it. So helping people to keep up with those changing laws and deadlines around the voting process, and addressing their concerns about whether their vote's going to be counted, whether they're going to get their mail-in ballot on time, and whether they'll be able to get it to the election office on time. The last big theme we've been focusing on is impact. So like I said, we've been calling out what issues might really activate members of our community. And we've also been talking about how that looks at each level of government, really highlighting at this time when so many people have their eyes to issues of racial justice that, you know, it's our local elections that perhaps have the biggest influence about who in our communities are going to jail or in prison for different offenses and who aren't. So letting folks know what representatives of different levels of government mean in terms of their day-to-day lives. All right, so I'm gonna hit stop there, but thank you again for making the time and space to cover how this issue impacts our community.
Yeah, thank you so much for your work. All of you have been doing such a great job. All of our partner sites really seriously could not have made such impact we have without you. And we just all appreciate your work. So thank you all again.
Great, thanks. I'm going to say the exact same thing that Keena said. You all shared really interesting and different strategies, and what I took from your presentations is that there are multiple ways to do this, and one or more of you had said that a mix of strategies is also important because different people engage in different ways. So we have a few more minutes if people have questions. If you have a question, type it into the Q&A. And I'm going to start with, for any of the panelists, I'm interested in hearing how you pivoted to include more digital strategies, or if digital engagement was already part of the work you were doing before the pandemic. Anyone want to comment on that?
Sure. I'll say for us as a community center, a lot of our work prior to March is community-based outreach. So we had to pivot right away, even before focusing on voting issues, to translating that to a digital format and being able to measure our impact that way too. So we learned a lot, really first through our census outreach, about what works in terms of leveraging partnerships, like I said, to get other organizations to coordinate and also post that messaging to their platforms, but also about the technical aspects of, you know, on Facebook and Instagram, you really can't use paid boosts to elevate these kind of messages. So how do we think about it in a different way to make sure that a lot of eyes are still seeing it and a lot of people are still engaging with it?
Great, thanks, Katie. Anybody else want to add to that?
I do have a question to share that came in the Q&A if no one else has anything to add. Someone on the call was asking for a quick overview on, I think Patricia, this was geared towards you, but there might be others who could answer on what to say to those, I guess, interested in voting who have been convicted and or have been to jail.
Well, one of the things that I know that they would come up and they would say, well, I was in jail, I can't vote. And it became a topic of, no, you are no longer in prison. You are no longer in jail. You have now paid your debt to society and you are a member of the community and you do have the right. So it's basically letting them know that there were rights. We did have some literature that we were passing out to them so that they could see exactly what their rights were as a person who had been incarcerated. I don't have that with me right now, so I don't want to quote from it, but that basically letting them know that they were now an active member of society and they did have that right to be an active voter also.
Thank you. And Phyllis, I don't mean to, does anyone else have experience helping people with who've been previously incarcerated registering?
All right, great. Any other things that any of the panelists want to add about any of your strategies? Or actually, if there were strategies that weren't working, that's always interesting to hear too. But any final comments before we end today from any of our panelists? All right, well, thanks again to everyone who joined. Thanks to our panelists. We will send out the recording and the slides, and we're interested in hearing from people who participated on the webinar today of what you're planning, how we can help support that effort. We've said this a few times, but just engaging people in voting has never been more important. And for those of us working for organizations, we all have a lot on our plates, but I would argue that this piece of the work is part of our mission to serve people in need. So thank you, and we look forward to working with all of you on this and other initiatives in the future. Thanks, everybody. Take care.